Welcome to Video Game Book Club, the show where we pick, we play, and we discuss a new game each and every month here on the Buenale Games channel. I am your host, Juan Pablo to the Gomez, and with me, as always, is Benjamin Tizzle Toops. How are you, Benny?
JP, we are so back. We have never been more back. It's actually been a really delicious start to the spring here in California, and I'm just hoping that you are having, as good as a weather as I am. I'm really happy to be here talking about this month's game of the month that you picked, and I just can't wait to get started.
Wow, can I just say that was an incredible me impression. Well done.
I don't think I can get I don't think I can get like the tone of your voice, the depth of your voice. I can't do it myself. I'm like an octave higher than you.
Yeah. No, well, to our audience, I hope you enjoyed our little April Fool's joke. Of course, swapping up our typical intro. But of course, this is Video Game Book Club, where we pick a new game each and every month. And this month we are here to talk about the game that was picked by JP himself, Cairn. So JP, why don't you tell me a little bit about number one, Cairn, and number two, why you picked this game?
Okay, I really wanted to pick Cairn because we had been playing some really intense games back to back. We had Lies of P in January, we had Armored Core 6 in February, and I think for March, it was good for us to get back to the indie scene that we like to be in, play a game that will kind of touch on a lot of like difficult subjects. I didn't realize the depth that this game would have in kind of like the psychology of the protagonist that, we are introduced to. And obviously, I wanted a fun, challenging game. I had heard that the climbing in this game would be difficult. And honestly, I don't know if it was super difficult, but it was definitely like a fun moment-to-moment piece of gaming. So Cairn is dubbed by their own developers, a survival climbing game. The first of its kind, according to the Game Bakers, who are a French studio that made this game. Wow. And basically, that's really what it is, dude. It genuinely is a survival game. You have the typical things. You have a hunger meter, you have a thirst meter, you have a body temperature meter that you kind of regulate with different items, food that you eat or drinks that you drink or whatever. But also, you literally are climbing. You're climbing a gigantic mountain that has never been conquered before. Many have tried, Benjamin. Many have tried, but it has never been conquered before until you go ahead and attempt to do it. Now, Benny, let me ask you this.
Okay.
In any video game, in any book, in any movie, when the premise of the said entertainment media is that no one has ever conquered this before, and then you are now attempting to conquer, do you think you're going to do it, or do you not think that you're going to do it?
Yeah, it's not necessarily the most original narrative, I would say. The starting at the bottom of the mountain and being like, I'm going to be the first one to climb it. But it's also a game that like it doesn't like need that layered of a plot. Like I think the primary character in the game. So number one, you're playing as Ava, who is this like world famous, world renowned, best in the world rock climber. And she's kind of your main character in the game. But honestly, the other main character in the game is just the mountain. Like the mountain is a character unto itself. It kind of tells its own stories through the carvings and documents and things that you find. So yeah, when you start out in the game and it kind of introduces this narrative to you, it's not exactly the most revolutionary thing in the world. But like for what the game ends up being, I think it kind of works,
Oh, it works. It 100% works. It's just funny because whenever I started the game, and that was literally the first thing that they say, I was like, well, listen, I'm definitely going to be the first one to conquer it, and you're not going to stop me. That's for sure. I also wanted to mention that whenever, anytime Ben and I pick a game for Video Game Book Club, we usually go and, shout that community on Reddit or other social media to say, hey, we're playing this game. Do you have any tips for us? And we had a lot of people from the Cairn community give us a lot of tips and just say that they were super excited that we were going to talk about this game for Video Game Book Club and that we were going to be, playing this game with VGBC in general. So I just wanted to thank those folks for all their kind words and for being with us. And I hope that if you are listening, shout out to you guys. Benny, do you know what Cairn means?
I do not. Why don't
you? You do not? Okay.
No, I don't. Why don't you educate me?
I looked it up because I didn't know what that meant. And Cairn is a mound of rough stones built as a memorial, or landmark, typically on a hilltop or skyline. So we didn't know this, but throughout the game, there are cairns, I guess, everywhere in the game that is a memorial and a shrine that people place, and even Ava places throughout her journey to, remember or signify the passing of someone. And why I wanted to mention that is because there's going to be a lot of conversation today between Ben and I about death. And the basically central plot of the game is death, and not just the death of your loved ones, but kind of like the death of yourself towards a goal that you desperately want to achieve. And so that's really heavy. And so we hope that Ben and I navigate that really well. And we hope that you accompany us to it. But I really didn't know what Cairn meant. And when I looked it up, whenever we were, kind of practicing for this podcast, I was like, what the hell? I feel like I should have looked this up the first day that I played this game.
Well, it's one of those words that, like, I feel like you hear the word Cairn occasionally, and it's always like context dependent. Like, it's always said in the context of some sentence, and you're like, yeah, I know what that word means. But then you sit down and you're like, wait, what does Cairn mean? What does that actually mean? So, no, it's funny. But honestly, like, the definition you gave, I feel like it's kind of a double entendre to use that term, like, because it is the little stone memorials that you find on the mountain, but also it's like the mountain is kind of a cairn unto itself. It's like the mountain is kind of its own little, series of jagged stones and stuff like that serves as a memorial, basically. So it's kind of interesting to hear you say that.
Benny, I like it, dude. You're so good with words. I think let's start getting into the early part of the game. So Ben, you already set us up a little bit. Ava is a world famous rock climber. And what I kept saying, in my streams, as I streamed this game for Video Game Book Club, is that Ava is the greatest sports person to ever live, because she's, achieving basically something that has never been claimed before. And there's a little bit of a joke in the soccer community, of calling someone the LeBron James of blank. And so I kept calling her the LeBron James of climbing, which is just hilarious. But she's the LeBron James of climbing. Ava, since the beginning of the tutorial of the game, they basically show us these magazines. She's in magazines. She's world famous. People know that she is this like amazing climber. Obviously, you can make the comparisons to like Alex Honnold. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honnold, I think, but yeah.
Honnold. The world famous, of course, a rock climber, the one that was in Free Solo. He recently did like a building climb thing on Netflix or whatever. And basically you can compare her to him. So that's the gravity that she has. So she says, okay, my next challenge and the obsession that I've had with my career and the ultimate goal for me is to climb this mountain called Mount Kami. So you start off in a little gym, and this gym is like a little rock climbing gym that is kind of like your tutorial area so that you can actually practice and you can learn a little bit about Ava before she actually sets herself up in this perilous journey. And I want to tell you something about this gym, Ben.
Okay.
The hardest climbs in the game are in this fucking gym. I swear to you. I was so bad at this gym. Listen, the game allows you to leave the gym after like 3 climbs, but there's like 10 different climbing challenges in the gym. And I swear, dude, I don't think I encountered anything as hard as the climbing gym. I failed so many times in the climbing gym. And I was like, dude, I'm going to lose this game. I'm not going to be able to do it.
Dude, no, okay, so you spent, I watched your first stream when we were streaming this game. You spent the entire first stream in the tutorial gym area.
Okay.
I did the first 3 climbs and I was out of there. So I did that, and then I actually returned to the tutorial gym a couple days ago for a reason I'll talk about later in the show.
Ooh, okay.
But I returned to it and I did the harder climbs in it. Like I did all of the climbs I didn't do the first time, and I thought they were super easy. So
No,
I
shut
think
up.
you might have just scammed yourself, man. Like I think you just like sent yourself to the super hard lines like immediately, basically.
I mean, honest, maybe you're right. Maybe I should have just gone through the game and actually learned how to climb and learn how Ava works. I almost called her Ava. I'm not gonna, I swear. But I have a confession to make. I don't think I heard her name at first, and then I always called her Ava in my head until
Right.
someone called her name, and then my brain has not been able to sever that connection between her being Ava and Ava. So I'm really sorry, and I apologize in advance.
We're gonna try. We're gonna try.
We're gonna try. Listen, another thing that I want to mention is how do you play this game? So we talked about the community, and they came to us and they told us, hey, listen, there's a couple accessibility features that you need to turn on. And one of the accessibility features is that you get this hold, I guess, indication. Whenever you place your hand, your other hand, or either of your 2 feet on a specific hold that is actually holding you up well, you get a little indication, a little white square that says, nice, you did a good job. But that is not turned on automatically. It's actually turned off, and you have to go over there in the settings, turn that on. And I just don't know how you can play this game without that setting, to be honest.
Yeah, that it's pitched as like an accessibility setting, like you said, but that is a difficulty setting, 100%.
100%.
That directly impacts the difficulty of the game. Like if you don't have that immediate feedback on whether or not a hold is a good hold or a bad hold or whatever, you really have to like lock in on the sights and sounds, basically. Like number one, you have to develop a good intuition of what is and isn't a good hold, which is easy enough. Like the game doesn't make it super, like vague what is and isn't a good hold. It's pretty intentional about that. But sometimes you put your foot on something expecting a good hold and it's not. So like, and then all of a sudden you're getting the shakies and Ava's breathing hard and starts freaking out and you're about to fall. Like that is a difficulty setting. And yeah, I don't know. I would be interested in going back and playing with like all of those options disabled on like free solo just to see how hard it really is. Because even on like the normal difficulty setting, Alpinist, it's called, with that, feedback setting enabled, it's still a really hard game. So it's like, to answer your question, I don't know, but mad respect if you do play without those.
Mad respect if you do. Yeah, I think at the top of the show I said something like, this game wasn't as challenging as I thought, but it's because I thought this game was like 10 out of 10 challenging. I'm not going to be able to finish because it's so hard, And it's not quite there, but it is a challenging game. So Ben, why don't you tell us, now that you're out of this tutorial area, you're out of the climbing gym, you start the actual game. The game is very cinematic. It starts you off, you're like in a wall face, I guess, in the mountain. You are coming out of your tent that is suspended on this wall, which is awesome. You're not like on the ground or anything. And then Ava's like, all right, let's get to it. Let's start this climb. And then you start going up. So how does the climbing mechanic actually work? And how do you play the game moment to moment?
Yeah, so again, it's the 100% of the mechanics in this game are just climbing, right? So you, at any moment in time, the controls in this game consist of the left stick to move whatever limb you have selected, move it around, and the X/square button to grab whatever you're hovering over at that time. So at any given time, you're just reaching to grab a little ledge, or you're moving your foot up to do something. And it seems very like straightforward at first, but it's really interesting because it super intuitively teaches you like actual climbing mechanics, which is that you want to have, like your 3 solid points of contact at all times. Like you have to have those 3 points of contact. And if you don't have them, you're going to get in trouble really quickly and your stamina is going to go down, because if you don't have good holds, if your hand isn't solidly on something, if your feet aren't propping you up, Ava has like a little internal stamina meter basically that's going to start dropping faster and faster as you stay in that position. So the game is really just trying to make your way up the mountain, right? Obviously, with a few detours, but really managing your stamina, trying to find all those good holds, and then also managing your resources as well. Because, like you said at the beginning of the show, this is a survival game, and it really is a survival game. Ava's got, a hunger meter, she has a thirst meter, she has a temperature gauge that tells you if you're getting too cold. And you have to rely on basically Ava is very unprepared for this journey. Can I just say that? Like, she shows up on the mountain expecting to climb to the peak of the mountain with like 2 chocolate bars and a water bottle. Like, that's literally all she brings. And
it's not good, man.
So you have to like scavenge all around the mountain like a raccoon to like find all these different things. You got to find food, you got to find water, you got to find drinks and bandages and everything in order to survive, because you only have enough supplies to last you like an hour. So it's ridiculous.
Dude, I had not thought about that. You're so right. She's constantly hungry. She's constantly thirsty. The body temperature one, I kind of never felt that was too bad to manage, too difficult to manage, especially because I found an item later on that helped with that. But dude, the hunger, I mean, and anytime you find a chocolate bar or some like fruit jellies or gummies, they barely help her, dude. She needs a substantial meal. She's the LeBron James of climbing. Like, she is a superhuman athlete, and she needs superhuman athlete nourishment. And she really was not prepared. Like, she did not bring anything. No. Listen, Climbot could have carried more things. He could have. Listen, I love Climbot, but the brother is so strong that he can carry you even if you fall at terminal velocity, as you told me once. I feel like Climbot is strong enough that he could probably carry another backpack with some food in there.
Yeah, so Climbot obviously is the kind of other central character in the game. Climbot is this like little fictional robot that basically climbs alongside you and like holds your ropes and sets your pitons and all that kind of stuff. And Climbot is, I mean, we had last year in Video Game Book Club, we had the best pet category for the Buenale Game Awards. I think Climbot's got to be an early contender for the best pet category.
I agree. I love Climbot. I think he's such a good pet, but we did have a little oh my god, Gemini. We had Gemini and Liza P. Listen, Gemini yapped a lot, not gonna lie. I kind of like that Climbot was a little bit more silent and he was just like, all reliable right there next to me. But we do have some good pets already for Video Game Book Club this year. So Benny, we start climbing. Like you said, we are moving every limb by limb, going up the mountain. You're kind of getting the feel of the game. Of course, there is a progression in the difficulty of this game. The first few wall faces are not as difficult as the ones that you will encounter 10 hours into the game, because they want you to kind of start understanding, like Ben said, climbing mechanics. They don't expect you to be a climbing expert. Of course, 3 points of contact is a very understandable and safe metric that you should follow in your life, if you're ever climbing a ladder or going downstairs or something. But, in climbing and in a video game, it is important. Like, it's really important to have 3 good holds and keep going. But there's a couple more things that you can do to help you achieve those climbs. And the game introduces that. And I actually have something to say about the Video Game Book Club Discord. Okay. I love you guys, but I'm reprimanding you a little bit. So,
oh goodness.
One of the things is you have pitons. So if you have done any sort of climbing, you probably wouldn't do this. This is a video game, but when you climb, there are already some carabiners screwed into pitons in a wall face that you can, if you're leading, you can grab your rope and put it through that carabiner. Well, in this game, to make it more gamey, more fun, there are no pitons in any wall face and you have to screw in your own. This just makes it so that there's a little bit of a delay between a hole that you have and then you actually screwing on a piton into the wall face. And if you don't have a good hold, you can't just cheese the way up the mountain. You have to actually be in a good position, put that piton in, kind of clip on, and then you can kind of relax a little bit, get that stamina back up, and then keep climbing. So that's something that you have, and you only have 6 of them to start off. And you can only have a max of 6 that you can use one time. You can have more in your backpack. But the Video Game Book Club Discord told me and told everyone, man, it's really hard to find pitons like later in the game. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have so much trouble finding pitons later in the game. I should not use my pitons at all, because there's a possibility that when Climbot goes to retrieve those pitons after your climb, that they will break. And if they break, you can repair them, but it's kind of difficult to do so. So anyways, I just wanted to say I was not using those pitons at all at the beginning. So I was dying a lot, or maybe not dying, but I was falling a lot at the beginning because I wasn't good at the game. And I wasn't trying to hold myself in a harness with the piton. And I just kept falling from the top of the mountain to the bottom, which was not good for me.
That's tough. Yeah, I feel like I was pretty much the opposite approach. I was using pitons like liberally. I was putting them all over the place because I did not want to die. Because it's tough, right? And it gets into like a central mechanic of the game, which is that you cannot save. You can't save the game unless you are at like a specified location. So you have to get to these little like sites, basically. I don't know exactly the function they serve in the game, like canonically, but basically they're little specified sites that you are able to save at and set up like your camp at. And so it's really interesting because, you can get your save point and go up to a rock face that you need to climb to advance, spend 20-30 minutes climbing that rock face, because some of the climbs can be so long like that.
They can.
And then if you get to the top and you fall and die, you're back down to the bottom of that rock face. So when I was climbing, I was like pitons every like 20 feet. I was like, I am not going anywhere without these bad boys. And yeah, I mean, to your point, like they broke sometimes, but I felt like I was always finding enough. Like I think the lowest I ever had was like 4 pitons maybe, and that was still like serviceable. So yeah, I was ripping the pitons with
Dude,
no regard.
Rip them. If you haven't played the game, rip them. Use them. Bro, I had like 9 by the end of the game. Like I basically had 3 that I couldn't even use. They were just in my backpack taking up space because I wasn't using them. So yeah, I think I was just a little bit misled with that one. But the other thing that you can do to assist in your climb is that you have chalk. So you put chalk in your hands and it'll basically give you a stronger grip on your holds. And even if you don't have a satisfactory hold, I guess you can say, then Ava can still kind of like hold on well, and it'll assist you a little bit in those kind of difficult moments or difficult little. I guess I don't have the climbing lingo in me, dude. I don't have the climbing
I don't know.
But there's specific paths that could be a little bit difficult. You can use a little bit of chalk there to help you. But in the early kind of run-ins with the mountain, it's really beautiful. Like the area around where you're in, it's really lush with like flora and fauna. You find all these little critters, bees and animals and goats and stuff like hanging around, which is cute. You find like little maybe things that aren't as cute, like, hey, there's sightseeings of bears around here. You have to be careful from the bears. It's like, there's no way I'm gonna find a bear in this game. And there's
that's
a lot of like
foreshadowing. That's called foreshadowing.
Yeah, you like that
for
you
our
like
viewers at home.
There's a lot of life in this game at the beginning, because there's a lot of things that you can see, but then quickly you find that there's a lot of death too. And that's kind of what I was trying to say earlier. One of the first run-ins that you have in this game is that you find a climb bot that has been abandoned, and you don't know why it's been abandoned, but then you realize that it's been abandoned because its climber passed and died and got stuck or lost, or something happened to them and they have not returned from Mount Kami. So Ava does and places a cairn, a series of like 4 like oval shaped rocks on top of this climb bot to signify the remembrance of this person. And these heavy moments keep happening throughout the game. especially at the beginning, because I think the game bakers wanted to let you know, hey, this is the point of the game. Like, yes, we built a really, beautiful and challenging climbing game, but you need to start thinking about what it actually means to go on this journey. And I thought that was really powerful, especially because there's there's these really fun places that you can visit in the game that kind of like take you away a little bit from that. So, for example, in one of the early places that you can find in Cairn is a rave cave. And I was going to ask you if you found the rave cave. And it's basically...
I did not. Yeah,
no?
it's so interesting because I found, obviously the game is very, like, it's open world to an extent. Like, there's only so many paths you can take, but there are different ways to go up the mountain, basically.
Yes.
And based on which way you go and how much you explore, you find different stuff, like you said. So, like, at one point in the early game, I found like some notes and stuff that directed you on where to find the rave cave. And like, I thought I knew what I was looking out for, but I just never came across it. And then by the time I was probably past it, and I was like, well, I'm not backtracking. Sorry.
No, backtracking is the hardest thing to do in this game. Once you have climbed a rock face and you're out of that area, nothing is going to make me want to rappel back down to like, do that climb again. Hell no, dude. But yeah, you find this rave cave, and it's basically just like, you find little notes here and there that are like these young climbers will like get together in this cave on this rock face, and they would just like party it up. You find mushrooms there, you find booze. I took the mushrooms, I took the booze, and then I start hallucinating and stuff. And the game, for how serious it is, there's like 2 or 3 moments in this game that are kind of very bizarre. And they took kind of like the art style and the direction of the game in a completely different kind of way. Just for why, I don't know, maybe because it's fun, but this is one of the ways that they do that as well. If you take some sort of like illegal substance, let's call it, you can start hallucinating. And what that does is Ava starts seeing everything in different colors. Like, everything almost becomes like navy, but then there's these like neon colors that start appearing, and it takes the shapes of everything that is in front of her, which is really fun. There's also a lot of small little caves and a lot of corpses. Benny, there are so many dead people that you find, skeletons, literally skeletons, because no one goes to this mountain. So no one goes and retrieves these people that have died.
Well, it's like, you find there's corpses like early in the game, right? And it's like, up on the summit, if you die up there, I can understand that. I feel like we can get some search and rescue teams on like the early parts of the mountain. Like, what are we doing? Come on. Yeah. We can send some teams up there, right? I mean, surely. That's crazy.
I completely agree. I mean, I think there's like, because you start the game, quote unquote, like already in the mountain, we don't know how long Ava has been climbing, I guess, to get to that point.
Sure. Right.
But I agree with you. I mean, it's not like the first area of the game is that like, in like the most difficult place to do search and rescues, especially for people who are dying. There's a particular there's a and these people that you find in these notes and books that you find, they all kind of circle back on each other. Like, you find like a note of this couple called Gabriel and Roberto, and they keep writing to each other. One of them keeps writing to the other one about like their journey and how it's happening, because one of them was sick and they were trying to find a specific flower to hopefully cure them or whatever. And he just leaves them to go do that. And so you have this, which, it's really sweet and obviously makes the story more poignant and stuff. But bruh, 100% someone could have rescued that man. Like, send the chopper, dude. I don't know. Like, someone can go rescue this guy.
Yeah, you gotta have the do like the satellite phones not exist in this universe? Like,
satellite phones.
We gotta figure something out.
Dude, the climb bots can receive radio messages still, even all the way to the summit. So I don't know why.
You gotta triangulate that signal, man. If the climb bot's receiving it, we gotta triangulate. Got to figure it out.
Benny, ask for triangulation, please, right now. There is a particularly heavy moment in the game for me that I wanted to touch on before we move on to the mid-game section, where you find a climb bot that has been receiving messages from a person who is the son of the father who owned this Kleinbot. And this son is basically telling his dad how much he misses him, and how him leaving has been kind of like left such a big hole in his life. But he still believes and is holding on to the hope that if his Kleinbot is receiving these messages, then that means that maybe there's a chance that his dad is still alive. And that killed me, especially because the point of the last message that you listened to was he was telling his dad that his daughter just turned 1 year old, and that he wishes he was there to celebrate with him. And I started crying. I started crying on stream, because to me, it like touched me so much. And I lost my father when I was young. And he says something very specific. He says, "You have no idea how much I wish I would have told you." And that is so true. Like, you never know how much you want to tell someone, especially because you never know when that's going to happen. Like, for example, when I lost my dad, I was 12. Obviously, I'm 29 now, so I have 17 years of experience that I wish I could tell my dad, but I can't. And when I was 12, I didn't know what I wanted to tell my dad. I just wanted to play the next Pokemon game. So, anyways, the game kind of like picks these very genuine moments for you to experience, and I felt that like they did it in such a good way. Like, everything that they did felt so real and genuine, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier. The like central story of the game is fairly light in how it's delivered. Not light in terms of the tone, because it's not light. It's light in terms of like the content, basically.
Yeah.
But the game really is dense, like you said, with all those other sort of side pieces. There's so many little corpses tucked away with a note you can find that has like a really heartbreaking message on it, or Kleinbots that you find, like you said. So it's really dense with those like very emotional moments that I think all sort of culminate to like setting the overall tone of the game, because all of these, like, thinking of it right now, it makes me think of that, what people say about people that climb Mount Everest, right? And it's like, when you're climbing Mount Everest, there's all these corpses everywhere on Mount Everest, right? Because you get up to a certain zone and you just can't be rescued. I don't know if, the corpses lower on Mount Kami, I feel like they can be rescued. But again, that's neither here nor there. But when you are up there and you're climbing Mount Everest and you're seeing these corpses, you're thinking to yourself, that could never be me. I trained better. I'm more prepared. I'm whatever. But every one of those corpses was once also like a very highly motivated, highly, alive individual, right? And they just, something went wrong, or they weren't as prepared as they thought they were. So I think the game does a really great job emphasizing that theme, to where every like little interaction you find feels like it has this really storied history, and feels like they're these people with these really rich pasts. And you're just taking like a small peek into their lives through these notes and things that you're finding. But every time it does it, like you said, it definitely hits that note really well.
I completely agree, but Benny, I honestly, wow, you're so good with your words, but Benny, I can't even. I'm just mesmerized by what you were just saying. Let's move on to the mid game of Cairn. So how do you keep motivated to climb this mountain and keep the player engaged with like things to find and things to do throughout the mid section of this game? Well, you did what the game bakers did, and they have kind of created this fictional village of troglodytes, which are like mountaineers, that have lived on Mount Kami for who knows how long. And unfortunately, they have kind of deserted their village. And so Ava, in her quest to climb Mount Kami, she finds the remains of this ancient, maybe not even that ancient, this civilization, this village in Mount Kami. And it's really interesting to kind of like experience that, the loss that this civilization or this village had, and even finding one of the last troglodytes remaining on this village and having a conversation with her, and seeing how difficult and maybe not so difficult it was for her to make the decision to stay. Throughout your midsection of this game, you're going to find all these different like relics and different parts of the village. There's, where everyone lived. There's like where the school was. There's where they had all their shepherd, all their goats. There's even a cemetery and a sanctuary portion as well. And finding all of these books and notes and understanding the kind of nature of this troglodyte village is a little bit of, piques your curiosity in a way that you want to keep climbing and you want to keep going because you want to kind of keep learning more about them.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it sets it up because, like you said, it's this like ancient civilization, right? But from all the material that you find in the game about them, it implies that it's like they were there at least very recently. Like you can you can reach a certain area where there's like a fishing hole that the troglodytes use. There's like a pond that's full of trout, and in game, of course, the function of that is that you go in and you stuff your backpack full of as many trout as you can fit in it, basically.
Hell yeah.
Or at least I did. But part of the the material on the mountain, because you're still low enough in the mountain at this point that there's like tourism material essentially, is like, oh, you can meet the troglodytes here, basically. Like it implies that there will be like a representative of the troglodytes here in the fishing cave that you can talk to and like experience, get their experience of these fishing caves like through them, basically. So it's this very... it's just really interesting. But you mentioned the troglodyte that you meet. I did not meet this person. I think I missed
Bad
them.
Penny. You were not exploring, dude.
I was exploring though. I genuinely feel like I was, but I totally missed this person.
So you meet Joanna. And you don't know that her name is Joanna, actually. I just kept calling her Brave because she looks like the protagonist in that Disney movie, Brave. She's just a redhead, very curly. And basically, in the first like village that you kind of encounter, village remains, I guess, that you encounter, you find this map. And the map tells you that there's like 3 pieces of a troglodyte doll that you need to put together. And this is one of your first big side quests that you can do. And in this map, you can open it up and then it'll tell you in the next like kind of like big area, rock face area, 3 different areas that are completely optional for you to climb and find these dolls. Well, one of them was where this lady lives, Joanna. And Joanna is a shepherd, a shepherdess. I don't know if that's the right word. She's a shepherd. And she used to be, or she is a troglodyte. And she was part of this village. And her and Sandro, who is a recurring character in these notes and books that you find, were little buddy, lovey. And basically, the troglodyte village decides that they are done with the troglodyte world and or way of being and their culture and their religion, and they know all about modern life and Mount Kami. They understand that Mount Kami is the beast that it is, and they are ready to start like a new chapter in their lives, and they know that it's not what everyone wanted to do, but it's what the village decided as a whole. And there's actually a little bit later down in a different troglodyte kind of area, you find that the kind of like village elders, let's say, voted to see if they were going to leave or no. And it wasn't like 100-0. It was like 60-40. It was like a lot of troglodytes wanted to stay and they wanted to keep living the life that they were living. But, they decided to leave. So a little aside that I guess we didn't talk about, in Mount Kami, there used to be in the past a kind of like, it used to be like a tourist destination, kind of like Mount Everest is. But what they built this like railway, or not railway, like, what are those, like a
tram or a gondola.
Teleférico. Gondola. Yeah, I know the word in Spanish. Teleférico, gondola. They built this kind of gondola thing where you can like see, not all the way to the summit, but you can see a lot of Mount Kami. And to me, the way I interpreted that is that the troglodytes were learning about modern life through all these tourists that were like plaguing their mountain, basically. Obviously, they were probably pissed that they were there, but at the same time, they were learning about like basically what modern society is. And yeah, I'm sure it would sound enticing to a lot of the younger folk in the troglodyte village, and that's why they wanted to leave. Joanna was one that never wanted to leave, and she actually didn't even know that the troglodytes were going to leave. So you meet Joanna. She has been a shepherd. She has a few goats. She has her own little cave with her own like little, I guess, house. Not really a house, but that's where she lives. And you meet her and she's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, can you leave my cave? And I was like, hey, sorry, I'm just passing through. Like, I love this, and they kind of bond about the fact that they love to be like solitary. And Joanna and basically Ava tells Joanna, hey, everyone left. And Joanna's like, really? They did? I hadn't seen anyone in a while. And Ava's like, yeah, like I'm sorry to tell you, but there's no one left in the village below. So what are you going to do now? And Joanna's like, fucking nothing, dude. Like, this is what I chose to do with my life. And this is how I want to live it. This is where I'm staying. And this is where I'm meant to be. Like, I'm not meant to be anywhere else. And that is like, again, one of the first parallels that you start seeing in Ava's life and what she's doing and what she's trying to accomplish and where her mind state is, because that's exactly where Joanna is. Now, Joanna tells her something really interesting. Ava asks her, what's your name? And Joanna doesn't tell her, because she said something like, she said something like, it doesn't matter if the person who knows my name won't be alive anymore. Something like that. I mean, she doesn't say it as badly as that to Ava, but that's kind of what it means. Like, it doesn't really matter,
Savage.
In both ways. It doesn't matter for Joanna and it doesn't matter for Ava, but I think Ava loved that. Like, I think Ava was like super into that, to be honest with you. It isn't until later you find another notebook and it is, finally you see that it's Sandro and Joanna. And that's why I know her name. But yeah, that one was really cool. But the other character that you meet in this area, and he's the most
very recurring, yeah,
NPC and the most important NPC is Marco. So why don't you tell us about Marco?
Yeah, so Marco's a really interesting character. You encounter him, basically you're just occasionally the game will just throw these like random cutscenes at you, essentially. Like, you'll be halfway up a wall and all of a sudden it'll just cut to a cutscene and it's like, okay, whatever, I guess. But basically, you're in kind of this mid-ish, early-ish area of the game. You're making your way up a wall and somebody just like flies past you and they're just like, oh, watch out, making my way. And it's this really young guy. I don't know if they ever say his exact age. I kind of assumed it was like 17, 18, maybe somewhere around
I
there.
thought he was like 19, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But just this very young, very energetic guy. And he's a climber, right? Obviously. And he knows Ava, of course, because in this fictional universe, if you're a climber, of course you know who Ava is. She's the LeBron James of climbing. Obviously,
she's the LeBron James of climbing, man.
So he's kind of starstruck, right? He's like, oh my God, it's Ava. I can't believe I'm here seeing you in the flesh. I get to watch you climb. Like, you're incredible. You're my idol, whatever. And Ava, being her like standoffish self, is just like totally not engaging, right? She's just like, okay, can you leave me alone? Like, trying to climb here, thanks. But, trying to go on my way. And he just like doesn't want to leave you alone. He's so plucky. He's like, he kind of doubts himself a little bit. He's like, oh, I know I'm not going to be able to climb the summit. I'm just like here to have fun. And Ava's like, what are you doing here? Why are you here if your intent is to fail? Right. That's kind of what she says to him. And it's just, it's this insane difference in their mindset. Right. And that's something that kind of will continue being explored as you encounter him throughout the game more and more. Because he just keeps cropping up until the end of the game, basically. And so, yeah, Marco is a really interesting character. I would say the other story component that's happening in the mid game here is you're getting them kind of all throughout the game, but you get all of these calls through Climbot. Climbot can like receive calls I don't know if he can send calls. That's kind of unclear to me because
Yeah.
Ava never responds to any of
No.
these calls. And I don't
Yeah.
know if that's because Climbot can't do it or because Ava doesn't want to respond. I kind of assume it's the latter.
I assume so as well.
But anyways, Ava is getting all of these calls, and they're coming from her friends, her family, her business manager, who's like
Oh,
yelling at
Chris,
her
God, he's
because
so
the
annoying.
sponsors, yeah, Chris, the sponsors want more updates about her climb because I guess, you know, she's this worldwide figure, obviously. It's like if Alex Honnold wanted to climb Taipei 101 and refused to provide any updates along the way, right? Like the business
Yeah.
manager doesn't like that. But you're getting a lot of messages from Ava's friends and family as well. And at the beginning of the game, they're very lighthearted. They're like, "Oh, you know, miss you, wish you were here. You know, good luck on your climb and stuff like that." But as you go, they kind of they start to turn a little more like frustrated and
Yeah.
sad because it's these people in your life that don't understand what you're doing, right? They Ava obviously, as we know, is this like very mentally different individual, very motivated to do this task. And the people in her life don't understand that. They're like, why are you separating yourself like this? Like, come back down. We miss you. We need you down here. To the point where, you know, Ava gets a call from Naomi, who I actually still don't even know if it's her girlfriend or sister. I actually don't even know. Is that clarified?
I think they're partners. Yeah, I think it's her
I,
girlfriend.
I kind of
But
that's
it
kind
could
of
be
the
her
vibe I
sister
got.
as well. I think.
But Naomi is calling Ava and telling her that their cat died while she was away. Like their
Mm.
cat that, you know, obviously is beloved, that they love, died while she was gone. So it's like life is going on without Ava while she's gone, and her family and friends are kind of growing increasingly frustrated and increasingly not really understanding why she's doing what she's doing, which is, you know, undertaking this huge quest.
Well, it's more than a quest, right? Like it is known that people who attempt this climb die. Like most people that do it die. So like all of her friends and family are thinking that she will die. And
Mm-hmm.
she's so stubborn in her obsession that she has with Mount Kami that there's nothing in life ever at all, as we learn when we play this game, that will stop her from trying to achieve this goal. Like there's nothing. Like for Ava, Mount Kami is herself. Like she is Mount Kami, and there's no way that she's going to let go of this mountain. And obviously, no one can understand that. Not even us. Like we can't understand that extreme obsession that Ava has on something that one she is more than capable of doing, as we find out, of course, because we will achieve this climb. Spoiler alert. And two, um, I lost my train of thought. I don't know what two is, but you know, something that like her friends and family don't think that it's even worth it. Like they don't
Mm-hmm.
think that this is something that needs to be proven. Like she is the LeBron James of climbing. Like let it be there, you know. I remember when I first started getting these messages from Naomi, especially Chris. I couldn't care less about Chris,
Right.
but about Naomi, I was a little bit like annoyed at Naomi. Like in my head, I'm like, okay, Ava is doing something that no one has ever done before.
Mm-hmm.
And all the messages that Ava gets are not really of encouragement, but it's like you said, they're all of frustration of telling her that like, why the fuck is she doing this? She shouldn't be doing that. She should be coming back home. Look at what you're missing. Look at, you know, our cat died. Like, you know, why are you so stubborn? Why are you so selfish? And I was like, dude, the LeBron James of climbing right now is attempting something that no one's ever done before. You need to encourage, you need to like be supportive, you need to like make sure that Ava's in the right headspace to like achieve this climb. But then the more I thought about it, it's just like, of course Naomi's crying for help. Like, of course she's crying for her to stop. And she's like, you know, I, she almost was probably like, it was a good thing that the cat died, because then maybe that will fucking wake her up to stop doing this climb and stop killing herself to come back to me, you know? Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I would probably say the same thing. Like, if we were Ava, we would do what Ava's doing. And if we were Naomi, we would be doing what Naomi was doing. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it was just their relationship and what we experienced of their relationship throughout the climb was, again, just so difficult and so hard for sure.
Yeah, that part reminded me of Free Solo, the documentary we mentioned briefly, more than anything, because Free Solo, if you're unaware, is about Alex Honnold, who's this incredible climber and who does a lot of free solos, which is where you have no pitons, you're not clipped into anything, you're up on the rock face, and if you fall, you're going to go splat, right? Like that's just what it is. But that's what he does. He's a free soloer. There's this like rich history of people doing free solos. And in Free Solo, the documentary, he's attempting to free solo El Capitan, which is this like insanely difficult rock face in Yellowstone, or no, not Yellowstone, Yosemite National Park. And it's this crazy undertaking. And so the documentary is following him in his quest to do that. But part of the documentary centers on his relationship with his significant other. And the significant other, like it's such an interesting dynamic because she has to confront every day, essentially, that one wrong move is going to be the death of Alex, right? And Alex has to confront that too. But Alex, his brain is kind of broken, and I think he just doesn't feel that as intensely as other people. But literally, like, when Alex is doing the climb, his girlfriend isn't even there because she just like has to leave. She can't be there because what are you going to do? Right. Are you just going to sit there, clutching your pearls the whole time, waiting for him to fall? No. Right. You need to remove yourself from the situation and, encourage him beforehand because, imagine if Alex Honnold is up on El Capitan, he's on the rock face, and his girlfriend, I think her name is Sunny. I can't quite remember. Imagine she's calling him on the cell phone the entire time, being like, why are you doing this? I can't believe you. Yeah. I need you to come back down. Like, brother is going to slip and die. No, you need to encourage him. So, yeah, but I understand both perspectives, right? Because if you are Ava, you want to be locked in. But if you are Naomi, you are not a crazy person like Ava is, and you want your partner to come back down from the mountain. So like, of course you're gonna express your frustration, but like you said, it's a really, really interesting dynamic that kind of unfolds and continues to unfold, through the whole game, basically.
Yeah. The whole midsection of the game is a lot of that, a lot of troglodytes, a lot of Marco. Of course, the relationship with Marco also develops, at first Ava could not stand him, but then later, they kind of, not that they understand each other or what they're trying to do, but they do become more friendly, I guess. And there's a funny moment where Marco basically gets Ava like super drunk, maybe more than drunk. And then you get this like bizarre, like kind of not even a cinematic experience because you kind of are like walking around and it's this like rainbow and there's cairns jumping around left and right, and then there's Mount Kami flexing her biceps at you and giving you, throwing you kisses and stuff, and then she wakes up from her trip, and then the game asks you to dump all of your water out, and that fucking made me so mad because you can cook in this game. We haven't talked about cooking. You can cook in this game, and you can make really good freaking recipes. And I had at that time I had like 3 thermoses because I found a bunch of thermoses. I had 3 thermoses full of like the highest like teas that you can make that like revive all of my thirst, hunger, and temperature meters. Give me grip strength, give me, focus, give me all of this. And they make you dump it all out, bro. And I was so mad. I was so mad at that. Anyways,
that didn't happen to me. I don't know why.
I can no. What do you mean that didn't happen to you?
It didn't happen to me. I don't know.
So you woke up from this and then what happened?
Ava vomited all over the place and then it was over. I was done. I don't know.
So the game said that Ava needed to drink all of her drinks. And so I started with the water, but then the game makes you dump out everything else. At least for me and for the VGPC people it did.
I don't know
unless
what
you
happened
didn't have
there because it
Oh.
didn't happen to me. Maybe it was something you had to like physically do. You had to empty your water bottles.
Oh yeah. Like they pull up the backpack and then you can only select things that are liquid, and then it made her dump it all out.
That did not happen to me. I don't know.
Okay, to be fair, it doesn't make you dump it out. It makes you drink it. So when I got out of the tent, I had like 25 minutes of focus and grit and grip and whatever. Like all of my stats are like amazing, and I was able to climb for like 30 minutes uninterrupted, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, but just
But
to get back to the point,
that's a good transition though. So how do you, obviously there's the story, there's the climbing, that's all happening throughout the game, but in the background is this like resource management, right, where you're managing your hunger, you're managing your drink, your thirst, excuse me, you're managing the cold meter. How do you, like, what was your overall experience with that through the game? Do you feel like it was well implemented? Did you change your approach throughout the game? Like, I'm just curious to hear your opinion on that.
video games keep teaching me that I'm a fucking hoarder, bro. What am I doing? Like, you play an RPG and then you get all these health potions and then you say, I'm not going to use them because I'm going to need them for later. And then you have a million and then you never use them. It was the same for me for this game.
Yeah.
I had all these medicines, all these pain pills, all these, little things that I didn't want to use because I felt that they were precious. And I felt that like, oh man, I'm going to need them later. And then anytime I would get to like a difficult position, I didn't need them. I didn't need them, and I should have keep using them, and I kind of am annoyed at myself because of that. I had really good items, the troglodyte doll that you use, you have 3 uses on it, and you can dispel bad weather. Literally for free if you use the doll. You just fucking use the doll and the bad weather goes. And in this game, there is bad wind and bad rain. When rain comes, it's slippery, so Ava is more likely to fall if she doesn't have good holds. With wind, you cannot move. If you move while the wind is blowing, then you're going to fall. And I could have used it, Ben. I did not use that doll once in the game. So like, what am I doing? That was my experience. My experience was I was starving Ava. I was thirsting Ava, because I was like, I'm going to push her until the meter is almost to 0% because I know I can make it to the next rest stop or the next pond or the next whatever and get food and water there. So no, my backpack was always full. It was always full of shit that I could have used and should have been using, but I wasn't because I was hoarding everything. So if I were to replay the game, I would do that a lot better, I think.
Yeah, I at the beginning of the game, I was getting the impression that the resource management was going to be a lot more scarce than it actually was. Like, I don't know why, but on my first couple climbs, I was like running out of hydration really rapidly. I was like burning through my hunger meter and all this stuff, and I like was not finding as much food and water on the mountain as I thought. And I was like, dude, if this is going to be the whole game, like if I'm going to be struggling to find resources the entire game, this is going to be a challenge. Like, this is going to be really, really hard. But that ended up not really being the case. Like, I feel like the game was pretty generous at like, pretty specific kind of handpicked moments to give you like a ton of stuff that you could then keep and kind of ration out as you went. Like we mentioned, the fishing cave where you can load your entire backpack with fish and then make those into like super, super filling fish stews, basically. We mentioned the goats. There's parts where you can like fill up all your bottles with goat's milk, which gives you like hunger and thirst meter, which is huge. And you can, huge. heat all of this up and reheat everything to give you your temperature gauge. So yeah, I feel like the resource management was kind of always there, but like never as in your face as I was expecting it to be, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think I only had like one moment maybe where like my hunger was really, really that low, and maybe one moment where my temperature meter was really low, that I was like actually struggling to get to the next stop. But you're right, the game does a good job at like cherry picking these moments to get you what you need. And also Marco helps a lot, because every couple of areas, every 3 areas or so, you and Marco have like another cutscene where you kind of develop that friendship, and then Marco cooks for you or whatever. And so you wake up the next day and all of your stats are full to the max. So like, okay, that's one meal that I didn't have to use, or that's one whatever water that I didn't have to use. So, shout out to Marco for sure.
I have a question for you though, JP.
Okay.
So you mentioned, every time you see Marco, he always like cooks for you and gives you stuff and fills up all your meters. But there's one time where you meet Marco where he says, or maybe you say or something like, "Oh, it's your turn to cook tonight." And you have to go into your backpack and select ingredients and cook a meal for both of you. But the game gives you the option. You can either select the ingredients and cook for him like he's been doing for you, or the game gives you the option to pretend that you have no ingredients to contribute. What did you do there?
I cooked for this boy. What are you talking about? Of course I did. I cooked, I don't know. I think I had a fish or mushrooms. I think like I did like stewed veggies or something like that. Something chill that, he would like. But yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Hey, I'm a cool guy. I'm a cool guy. You never know. Ava is a cool Ava. She's crazy, but she's a cool Ava. That's a good question though. Okay, Benny, I have one of the coolest moments of my streaming career happened within this game. So you were watching and you were egging me on to a specific spot in this mid-game section. Ben was hanging out in the chat and he was like, "Hey man, just remember, don't miss that cave that's over there." And then I got mad. I was like, "Don't tell me what cave. I want to I want to play this game blindly." I like to do that. I want to find the things on my own. Anyways, I did find the cave and I went up to the cave, and this cave could not have been a more obvious trap. You walk into this cave and there's bones everywhere, there's corpses everywhere, there's all these like gnarly like scratch marks everywhere. But of course, like any other video game and like any other obvious trap, there was a lot of loot. And I was like, I love the loot, so I ran to the corpse. I got really good loot, to be honest, from the corpse. Mm-hmm. Then what happens when you exit the menu and you turn around? There's a gigantic bear, a grizzly bear, that is waiting for you right behind you, and he's ready to pounce on top of you and murder you. And everyone in the chat's like, he's with the bear, he's gonna die or whatever. And I start panicking, and then I tell the chat, I was like, listen, if it's brown, lay down. And if it's black, fight back. And this guy is a brown bear. So I went in the quick menu and I slept. And there's a function there where you can just like do a quick rest and you can just like make Ava sleep. And so I quick rested in front of the bear. Then the bear lays down and he starts sleeping as well. And then I was able to get up, go around the bear, and exit the cave unscathed. And it was honestly incredible. I kind of still feel like that adrenaline high that I got from doing that.
Dude, I was so mad about this because you're right. I was 100% trying to bait you into this situation. I was in the chat being like, "Oh, make sure you go in that cave. There's some really good loot in there. Like, you don't want to miss that." And you were like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, bet. Appreciate it." And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be so funny. It's going to be so funny. He's going to get scared by the bear." When I went in the cave, of course, I got jump scared by the bear, and I just like ran past it. It like swiped at me. It knocked out like all of my HP. I like barely survived. And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be so funny to watch this happen on stream." And you just like 200 IQ, go to sleep like a Chad, and the bear just lays down. Dude, my jaw hit the floor. That was like the funniest moment. And it's so smart that the developers included that as well and gave like rewarded you for that creative thinking. It was so cool, and I love that. That was an incredible moment.
No, it felt like they did that just for me. Like, it felt like they were like live coding that in right now. They were watching and they were like, "This needs to happen right now." It was that pure. It was that genuine. And yeah, it was amazing. It felt so good. But the last kind of portion of this mid-game section is what I've been calling the first boss of the game. So you kind of like get to like really the last troglodyte village, or the last like remnant of the village. It's really really big sanctuary and cemetery that is very bittersweet, to be honest, because this is a place where these villagers in the past would go and write their kind of final goodbyes and their last wishes in these little I don't know what those specific like kind of artifacts are called, but they're kind of like wind chimes, kind of, but they're a rectangle, and they write something like, to the remaining troglodyte villagers, I wish you nothing but success, and just want to let you know, that maybe life down in the base or whatever won't be as green as the life on the mountain, or something like that. Or, they say all these different things that are, again, this game gives you very poignant moments all the time that are really good. But above this cemetery, you get your first like gigantic like wall that you need to climb, that you 100% need to use all of your pitons to get through. And it's really difficult. And I think out of everything, including the, climbing gym, this wall is probably the hardest wall in the game. And getting through this was, for me at least, the hardest part of the game.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like the actual climbing, there's obviously some very technical passages. Like there's some really, really difficult parts of this climb, but just the length of the climb, I think makes it so much harder than anything else. Like you traverse so much vertical distance. I think this was the time in the game where I had the least pitons, just like because of, I guess, how it shook out. I think I literally had like 4 or 5 pitons. Oof. And like I told you, I was pitoning pretty regularly. So I was like, 3/4 of the way up the peril, which is what this rock face is called, the peril, aptly named. I was like 3/4 of the way up. I had 0 pitons left, and all of a sudden the little rope indicator comes on the screen, because at all times you're clipped into your pitons, right? And there's a finite amount of rope that you have. And the rope indicator comes up telling me like, hey bro, you're going to run out of rope in 10 meters. And I was like, oh my God, wait, am I going to be able to like actually complete this climb? If I run out of rope, I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to have to like restart and ration my pitons better? And this is a long climb. I was at it for like 30 minutes at this point. I was really, really stressed about it. But thankfully, the game does a very helpful thing where if you find yourself in this position where you have 0 pitons left and you are at the end of your rope, it gives you the opportunity for Climbot to go down and retrieve the first piton that you placed and sort of bring it back to you, so you can kind of give yourself one more leg to the journey. So I was so unbelievably relieved to find that was the case. I was able to, get the last piton in because I was really struggling at that last portion of the climb. Is so difficult. But so thankful to get that piton back and to finally make it to the top of the peril, because it was so hard.
So I have a question. While Climbot is getting that piton for you, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to like just chillax in one of your last pitons? Okay, basically, so you just wait and then he comes back up. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess you can't really move if Climbot is not there with you to hold you up.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was just waiting for the piton, pretty much just hanging on the barrel.
I got super lucky because I was struggling with this wall. And just like you, I had put like 5 pitons down, and I looked at the wall and I was like, holy shit, I'm like halfway there. What am I supposed to be doing? And I didn't know. That never happened to me. I never, like, my rope never, I guess, ended, quote unquote. And I never had to send Climbot to get a piton because, oh my God, in the corner of my eye, in the corner of my screen, I saw a little opening. And I saw a little cave, and it was like the most hidden cave that they put in this game. And it was like, maybe like 45 meters northeast of me. And I was like, I need to get to this cave. I'm going to use my last piton to get to this cave so I can like rest, eat, get Climbot to get all my pitons back. And then from this little cave, do the second half of the mountain, And I was able to get it, dude. And I was sweating. I was sweating for sure. Cause I put the piton like maybe halfway, and I had like 25 meters to climb. And I mean, Ava was dying. She needed water. She needed to eat. She was cold, but I was able to get to to the cave, and from there the climb, of course, it's like, maybe it was more than halfway, honestly. It was like 2/3 of the way up, so the climb was a lot easier on the next day. But no, this first boss, I kind of like, I'm bad with the names that the game gave all these different rock faces. Like they're all named, and everywhere where you like save and leave the game and then you like load it back up, it'll tell you where you are. But yeah, the peril is definitely a good name for this one, and it was very difficult. I think it was the most brutal part of the game.
Yeah, probably. I agree. But I think we are through sort of the mid game portion now. We're heading into the late game. So obviously this is our spoiler warning from here on out. We've spoiled light details up until this point, but if you want to play the game yourself, if you want to experience the ending and see what happens and make your own decisions, definitely go do that. Pause this video, come back to it after you've played. But from here on out, we are going to talk about the late game. So late game, the game changes a lot. You get into, obviously as you get higher and higher up into the mountain, it starts to get a lot colder. There starts to be a lot of snow and a lot of ice. And with snow and ice comes ice climbing.
Ooh.
And I have to tell you, this was my least favorite part of the game by far. Yeah. I like, it's hard because I like the ice climbing mechanic in general. I thought it was a fun addition. Like you have to, instead of just using your hands and your feet, you have to use ice picks, which kind of extend your range a little bit, and crampons on your boots, like spikes basically on your boots that you kick into the ice and kind of give you more grip. I thought it was a really cool idea. In practice, the way it was implemented is so buggy. And it's so inconsistent, and like you'll be totally in a hold, right? You'll have your ice axe in a little crack. You're securely in there. You'll have your feet in, different holes or whatever. And then the game will just freak out and you'll look like you're falling for like a split second. And falling in this game means, like we said, it means resetting your progress. It means if you're on free solo, it means the game is over. Right. And so there will just be these little split second moments where the implementation is buggy enough and it literally looks like you're falling off the mountain. And then you'll snap back up and kind of snap back to your grips. I cannot tell you like how much I was freaking out in those moments. Like it made me resent the ice climbing so much, like to the point where I would like go out of my way to avoid it. Basically, I don't know how your experience with the ice climbing was in general, but for me, no bueno.
I tried to avoid it if I could as well. I just felt like at this point you've probably played around 10 hours of the game and you have developed this like rhythm with the game and this kind of like relationship with the climb and how you put the next hold and how you like even the rhythm of the game. You know where your next hold will be. Ben and I haven't talked about this too much, but you can choose what limb you will move next, which at the beginning I was doing that a lot, but then I realized that the game was picking the correct limb that I would want to move next. So I wasn't really choosing my limbs a lot by like the mid game, late game. And you just have this cadence where you move the arm, bam, you move the leg, boom. And as soon as I was moving pressing square, I was moving again because I knew I had this understanding with the game. I knew what the next limb was going to be. But then when you do the ice climbing, the holds are not intuitive. You think that's a little crack where you can put your ice pick in or where you can put your boot in, but it's not. And then you press the button and you start moving your next limb, but actually Ava doesn't have a good hold with her right hand. And when you don't get a good hold, she slips really quickly, unlike when you are climbing regularly. And so I just struggled with it because I genuinely was bad at it. I was not doing good with it. And you had to move the camera a lot to really verify those cracks. And a lot of the times it wasn't actually a crack. It was maybe a little offset of the ice wall with another little ice wall. And that just didn't feel good because if you're climbing, you could get a good hold by doing like an L hold with your hand. But if you're doing ice picking, then you can't. And so, I don't know. I I genuinely enjoyed that they added that, and I think it was smart that they added that because it is something that you need to think about and it's something that you need to do. But it was a little bit difficult, I think, in practice when you're playing the game. And if I was looking at little routes on where I was going to, how I was going to take this particular wall face or something, I was avoiding, even if it was longer, I was avoiding the ice climbing if I could. But this is basically pretty quickly, like Ben said, when you kind of get to this area, they introduce that and it's fun. I mean, it is really cool that they're adding new challenges for you. But you and Marco are now basically ascending and you're kind of heading towards the summit of the mountain. And like Ben and I have been saying, Marco kind of knows in the back of his head that he's not going to be able to do this climb. And Ava is kind of pissed at him a lot of the times because of this. He's like, I'm doing this because I want to, and I know I'm not going to succeed, and I'd rather like turn around and go back home than like attempt something that I know I won't be able to succeed, And Ava's like, it's not even worth it for you to do it if you're thinking that you're going to fail. But it's not about failing or succeeding. I mean, those words mean something different to Marco than they mean to Ava. But regardless, they are both heading towards this summit. And you have a couple climbs in between. You go through this place called the Needle, which is a fun climb. And then you go through another little sanctuary from the troglodytes where you light a fire. And then other troglodyte villages light fires in response, which is a really good, cool moment in the game. Eventually, though, you really are basically at the end of the game where you meet a new NPC called Damas. And Damas is the former LeBron James of climbing, the person that Ava herself looked up to when she was a younger climber, who was thought to be dead because he also, just like her, wanted to conquer Mount Kami, came out to Mount Kami, who knows how long ago, and then never returned. You find a book from Damas after you talk to him a little bit, where you kind of like understand his like descent into his craziness that he has. He keeps a diary, and basically, he's like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and he just never does it. He never does it, and so he deems the climb impossible. And if it is impossible for him, Benny, then he thinks it is impossible for everyone. Yeah. Of course, you meet this man. So this man is there. I'm talking to him as if he's not there. But no, you meet him, and he seems very nice at the beginning, and he invites you to his little cave that he has like built, his little home. He cooks you up dinner again for you and Marco, and you stay with him. But then you have a really interesting conversation where he's like, hell fucking no, you're not going to do this climb. It is impossible and you're going to die. Take it from me. I've been here for, however many years, and I only have seen people who die. And so it is up to me now. I'm the protector of Mount Kami. And I basically tell everyone who wants to do this climb to turn away, live your life, and go home. Now, you and I can both talk about whether that means that, does he actually believe that, or is he jealous that he can't do it, so he doesn't want anyone else to do it? But that's what he tells you. So of course, Marco is like, hey, I don't even know who this guy is, but you know who he is. And, I am going to do that. I'm going to go home.
Yeah. Marco folds instantly.
Oh,
Marco's
bro, he folds instantly.
Say less. I'm out of here.
Say less, Damas. I gotta go. And so, whenever you go and say goodbye to Marco, he asks you if you're going to go with him or not. And of course, this is like one of the, biggest decisions that you have in the game to do, especially in this like run in of the game. And you can say, yes, I will go back and accompany you back down to the base of the mountain and just leave the journey here. Or no, I'm literally almost there. I'm going to the summit. If you do say yes to Marco, then the game ends. You leave, you don't do the climb, you go back home to Naomi, and you have a friendship with Marco, and everyone's happy and everything's okay. Or you say no, and of course the game does not end because your journey is not over and you still need to go to the summit, and you kind of tell Marco goodbye and you tell each other that you hope to see each other at the base soon. And Marco is kind of like, yeah, I hope so.
For sure.
For sure, dude.
For sure.
And then Damas and Ava have a little conversation, Benny.
Yes, this is one of the more disturbing parts of the game.
Yeah.
If I mean, there's a lot of like like we said, a lot of death, a lot of heavy topics in this game. This is like the game at its darkest, I think. So, like you said, Damas is trying to convince you not to go for his own intentions, for your intentions. Whatever you think. Um, but once you make it clear that once you tell Marco that you are going to the top, Marco leaves and you head back kind of to Damas's uh, abode to continue the climb, to climb up the stairs and keep going. And Damas is waiting for you at the top. And as you're approaching him, you can hear gunshots going off. And you're like, what in the world is going on? Why am I hearing a gunshot right now? And as you go, you get there, and Damas explains to you, and he shows you through a pair of binoculars, that all of these other climbers that are now hanging, dangling by ropes, were once climbers, just like you, kind of like I said earlier in the show. They were once motivated climbers. They were once climbing up Mount Kami, close to the top, about to make it. And now look at them. They're dangling from their ropes like broken puppets. One guy in particular is hanging. Damas kind of points his binoculars and shows you he died yesterday. He was climbing up. He slipped and he's been dangling on his rope for the past 10 days. And I put him out of his misery yesterday, essentially. And that's Damas's, assumed role. His job is to put the climbers that fall out of their misery and to shoot their rope and condemn their bodies to the mountain, as he puts it. And so he tells you, if you go up the mountain, I'm going to be the one to shoot your rope and to, send you down into the mountain. When you fall and you're dangling, I won't leave you hanging there like a broken puppet. I will shoot your rope and I will condemn you to the mountain. And then he asks you, do you want to take the gun? Want to shoot? See that corpse up there? Do you want to shoot him down? Want to take the reins and do it for me here? And you got to decide, do you want to do that or do you not? So what did you do, JP?
Bruh, I said yes, and I regret it so hard. I said yes because, of course, I want to shoot a gun in the video game. That's what you want to do in the video game, And I was like, listen, Damas is old. He might be a bad shot. I don't want him to accidentally hit his head or something. I'll do it for him, and I'll actually hit the rope so that the guy falls. But to be honest with you, Benny, as soon as I did that, I didn't really feel good about it.
Yeah, same. I did the same. And I had the same reaction. Yeah.
Well, then you kind of tell Damas, brother, you're weird as fuck. Thank you, but no thank you. And then you start doing this kind of, penultimate maybe climb to get into the summit. So you start doing the climb. Again, it's not as long as the Peril, but it is quite long. And it has both climbing and ice picking. You do it, and honestly, Benny, you're thinking, okay, I can do this. Like, this is not too bad. You're going up with Climbot, you're doing the thing. But then Damas starts fucking shooting his gun. And you're thinking, is this motherfucker trying to shoot his gun at me? And kind of, yes, this dude is shooting the gun upwards at the mountain to cause an avalanche to basically get you to stop climbing the mountain. And so the game changes. And you don't have any more pitons. You can't do any more pitons. There's no more like hunger, thirst, temperature meter. There's nothing. The music of the game changes, becomes really dangerous and perilous and exciting. And it's basically a race against time for you to get to the top of the summit before Damas very kind of on purpose kills you. And basically what ends up happening is these avalanches are falling on top of you. Mm-hmm. And basically like maybe 5 or 6 avalanches can fall on top of you until you die. It's like a secret timer that they put on the game. And you need to get this climb up there. And dude, I have a little bit of a story for this one because I'm getting up on this climb. I'm doing really good. I am going quickly and I'm thinking, I got this. It's going to be easy. I'm really vibing with the music. It's a really good soundtrack that they put exactly for this kind of situation that is happening. And I get to the top. Brother, I can see the edge of the mountain. I can see it. And there's 2 ledges. and I put one hand on a ledge and then the other hand on the same ledge. And then I put my foot on the bottom ledge and then the other foot on the bottom ledge. And I have this amazing quad hold that I've been doing the whole game.
Oh my God.
But of course, something that I noticed, the game did not give me the good hold indication on any of them. But brother, I swear to you, these were the goodest holds I've ever seen in my life. And the game dropped me. It sent me down to the bottom. Ava, could not hold herself, and she fell.
Dude.
But wait. But Benny, I had a Edelwiesel flower.
Oh.
And the Edelwiesel flower gives you a free retry at any moment. And it's the first time it had activated, because when I got the flower until this point, I don't think I had fallen yet. And I was like, hell yeah, give me a retry. And the Edelwiesel flower brings you back to where you were in a couple steps before. So you can kind of like do a different thing. And I said, sick. So I did the different thing again. I got to the ledge and the same fucking thing happened. No. And it dropped me down. Dude, I died and I had to do the climb a third time. I did the climb. Benny, I swear to you, I did the same route. I got to the same ledge. This time, the game actually gave me good holds and I went through to the top. And so at the end of the game, when they showed me my stats, it said that I used a retry, and hell no, I did not use a retry. The game messed with me, and it kind of robbed me, bro. It robbed me.
Hashtag, can we get some hashtag JP robbed in the comments? If you're listening right now, comment JP, hashtag JP robbed. That's crazy. That's crazy. I feel so bad that you had to redo that climb, because it was stressful. It was. It was a hard climb, and then the game takes away your pitons, and you got to just like send it to the top. I was very thankful that I completed that in one go. If I fell to the bottom and had to redo that multiple times, I may have rage quit. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I was very, very thankful. But thankfully you reached the top of that. But this experience with I almost said the avalanche. The experience with the avalanche has like had a really big toll on Ava. And you reach the top of this cliff and you basically collapse. Like, you just totally collapse. And who comes to the rescue? Not Marco. You're probably thinking it's Marco. No, it is Climbot. Your day one. He musters up all of his energy and pulls you into the bivouac tent. And Ava can kind of rest and recuperate a little bit before pushing to the summit. But this kind of sequence has had such an effect on you that you no longer have your full resource bars. Previously, all of your hunger, your thirst, your temperature have been these kind of, there's been like a triangular bar. There's like 3 segments that make it up, and you have a lot to work with basically. But once this happened, those are reduced to 1. So you're much more constrained in how long you can go before you need to refuel, how much punishment you can take essentially before you need to get warm again. And it really changes the way you have to think about the game a lot. And it was making me really stressed out, because at this point in the game, I didn't have a lot of resources remaining, right? But you had to be pretty smart and pretty resourceful to kind of manage it. This kind of last portion of the climb as you're pushing to the summit. It's pretty crazy.
You do. I also didn't really, I feel like I didn't understand what was happening until like the last moment of the game happened. Like, I understand that my thirst meter, my hunger meter and everything went down, but I didn't realize it was because of the like toll of the avalanches and like the toll that Ava's body has been going through this whole journey and through the mountain climbing, I guess. Because dude, I was cooking up the best recipes, I mean, Ava was sitting happy with all of her stuff. And my backpack was full of really good teas and drinks and soups and stews and stuff for her to be happy. And I had so much medicine. I was like, just take some medicine, you'll be fine. But obviously, the game wanted to is, realistic in its way, and it wanted to show us a little bit of something different. But Climbot basically saves you, like Ben is saying. And then right now, you really just have a half hike, half last climb to get to the summit. It is the most dangerous environment on top of this summit. The wind, the cold, the snow, the ice, everything is so difficult to get through. The game wanted to emphasize how difficult this environment is and why no one has been up there before and why Ava is struggling to walk up there. Listen, she already walks really fucking slow and it's annoying, but in this section, it's even worse. She is so slow. But you kind of go through a couple of more hiking and not really climbing. You need to mend and really look at your 3 meters really closely because they're falling really quickly. You start literally the final climb of the game, and then I was still, Benny, still holding on strong to my soups and my herbal teas because I was like, as soon as I'm like halfway up, I'm gonna drink all that thing and it'll give me like 15 minutes of grit and I can climb really quickly.
Bingo.
But instead you get a little cutscene that Climbot is malfunctioning. And he's been hard at work this whole time and really all of Ava's career, because this has been her same Climbot throughout her whole rock climbing career. And even he can't take it anymore. Even Climbot, after saving you, after everything that has happened, he cannot take it anymore. This obsession has gone beyond Climbot. And so Ava has a decision to make. She can either carry Climbot as dead weight and get to the summit with him, or she can cut the rope, let Climbot go, and then do the climb without him, without any pitons, without any safeguards, and just get to the top without him. So what did you do?
Obviously, I carried Climbot with me. That is my day one. That is my best pet. My day one. I thought there was this decision was like really interesting, and I'm glad they included it. But it felt kind of hollow after the fact because I really didn't feel like taking Climbot impacts you at all. Like it didn't really feel like it slowed me down. You can't use pitons, obviously, but at the point in the climb where that decision happens, the route to the top is basically a ladder. Like there's many holds. There's like so many little crags. You literally can just like autopilot to the top at that point in the climb. So I was like, dude, if you chose to cut Climbot at this point, you're a clown. Like you're a total clown, because it was like it doesn't impact you at all to keep him. So yeah, you're a monster.
You're a monster. So Ava straps Climbot in a rope, kind of like cinches into her waist, and then you do the final climb. The final climb, no pitons anymore. I think your hunger, thirst meter, everything goes away. It's just you and the last little, 5 minutes with the mountain until you get to the top. You get Climbot with you, and then you have reached the summit. You walk all the way to the top of the little section that is the summit, and Ava falls on her knees. She grabs Climbot, and then she like yells this like animalistic roar. It's so powerful, this animalistic roar that she just like expels out of her body. And to me, the way I was thinking about it, it's almost like the curse of Mount Kami was finally leaving her. But at what cost? She got to this point, and she is now, and we'll talk about it, basically ending her life. And she has gotten rid of this obsession and this curse that she has put on herself, or that someone put on her somehow. And it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't feel bad either. It's just a animalistic grunt that she had. And that's it. She kind of cries a little bit, hugs Climbot, and then the kind of most bizarre ending sequence of a video game that we played recently happens, Ben.
Yeah. So Ava collapses. She's kind of falling asleep. She's, which, in mountaineering terms, when you're in the freezing cold, falling asleep is not going to be a good thing, right?
No.
But then she kind of like snaps awake, and these points appear, and you kind of choose, the game kind of prompts you to choose to get up pretty much. And when you do that, the stars in the sky, because obviously it's dark, you're at the top of the mountain, the stars look very close, but then the stars kind of become close to you, and it looks like you can reach out and grab them. And if you do, you reach out using the controls we've been using so far. You reach out and you grab it, and it's like a hold. And so Ava starts pulling herself up, one foot after the other, one hand after the other, through the stars, climbing up into the sky to the point where she kind of grabs a hold and launches herself up into the stars. She sort of gathering up all this energy, into this like fiery meteor looking thing with this big colorful trail behind her as she flies up into the sky. A lot of other sort of fiery trails join her. I think you can maybe interpret that as like other souls lost to the mountain, or at least I did. And you kind of become this shooting star basically into the night sky. So Ava, I think, pretty heavily implied that she's no longer with us. She probably dies on Mount Kami. But in doing so, she kind of becomes one with the mountain and, ascends into the heavens, I guess.
I think
know
ascends.
how else to put it. Yeah.
No, I think ascends is the correct term. She's ascended to exactly to overcoming that obsession that she had, and the only way in her mind to overcome that obsession was to actually do it, and giving her life to do so. And other people, us more regular people maybe that don't have this insane obsession to do something will never understand. And even if we did have an obsession, we could prioritize other things over it. And so then you can let it go and kind of like finally put your mind at ease. But Ava could not do that. In her mind and in her life, there was nothing else that she was meant to be doing other than kind of conquering this obsession. And her obsession was Mount Kami. And she did so. And it cost her life. And it probably cost all of her family and friends a lot of pain. It definitely did. But she did it. And she ascended, and hopefully wherever Ava is now, she doesn't have a new obsession, and she finally can rest easy and kind of feel that her heart is not heavy anymore and it is light. We will talk a lot more about the ending of the game and more about Cairn, and answer all the questions that our community has sent to us on our Discord. And if you are not part of the Video Game Book Club Discord, then this is the perfect time to join. Link in the bio and everything. And we'll be right back with part 2 after this. Welcome back to part 2 of the show, where we will answer questions that you have sent to us on our Discord, the Video Game Book Club Discord. Bad Benny, since I picked the game, I will go first. And
Okay.
The first question comes from Glass Shark from the Video Game Book Club Discord. And he asks, have you played a co-op-like before? How do you feel the movement of Cairn compared to those, if you have?
Good question. Shout out Glass Shark. I have. So I think like pretty much everyone probably, I played QWOP back in the day for 10, 15 minutes. You log on to QWOP, you're like, this game is ridiculous. I don't want to play this game anymore. That was my experience with QWOP. But one game, a more of a QWOP-like, that I did play a few years ago is Getting Over It. So I don't know if you're familiar with Getting Over It, JP, but it is a game where you play a man in a pot with a hammer, and your only controls in the game are swinging the hammer around and using it to latch onto surfaces and pull yourself up and propel yourself. And the goal of the game is to reach a summit, basically, to reach the top of this map. And, it's a very difficult game. The controls are obviously super obtuse, and there's all sorts of things that are set up to make you fail. And as you go, as you play Getting Over It, there's a narrator, the guy who made the game kind of talks to you as you play. And, you know, it ranges from very goofy things to a lot of very philosophical things as the game goes on, like talking about why you're doing this, because as you play you're falling back to the bottom and you keep going. There's this really big philosophical component to it. And I honestly feel like Cairn is a spiritual successor to Getting Over It. Like they're very, very similar.
Really?
Even to the end of the game, the end of Getting Over It, if you've ever been so lucky to get there as I have, the end of Getting Over It is you use your hammer, you grab on to one final ledge and you pull yourself up, and when you do it, you're catapulted into the sky and into the stars, and you fly up into the stars, and there's this big epic moment where that happens. And of course the same thing happens in Cairn as well. So I thought it was very funny. So that answers part one of your question. Part two, how do I feel about the movement? So I felt the movement was very good. I thought it was way more intuitive than like a typical QWOP style game. But in order to test, I conducted a scientific test to determine how good the movement in Cairn actually is. And the way I did so was I sat my lovely wife, who I adore, I sat her down. She's a former climber. She used to do a lot of climbing and climbing gyms and bouldering and stuff like that. She plays very few video games, like very few, to the point where, you know, if you hand her a controller, it's like, it's crazy. Watching her operate a video game with a controller is so funny because she has no idea how to use the camera, how to use the controls, nothing. But I sat her down. I handed her the controller in the climbing gym and I said, go for it. Like, just see what happens. And it clicked really quickly for her, you know, with her ability, you know, her past playing, with her past, you know, climbing in real life. She knows kind of some of this intuitive stuff, like, you know, your 3 points of contact and all that, and, you know, getting your holds. And once she got the basic mechanics down, she was flying through the walls. And so to the point where she got past the climbing gym, she, you know, went up the first wall and then did a few climbs past that as well, and was doing really, really well in the game. So I was like, that to me is like a testament in and of itself that the movement in this game is really well designed and it is really good. If somebody that is like so foreign to video games can pick it up and have that kind of experience with it, I think really speaks to that. So yeah, that was my experience with that.
Benjamin, the scientist, dude, over here doing experiments with his wife. Incredible. You can quote me on that one. No, that's amazing. Wait, first of all, I didn't know that your wife did that. That's really cool. I'm going to talk to her about it when I see her next time. And two, that is so cool that she was able to intuitively play the game like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
To answer Glass Shark's question, I have not really played a QWOP like before. I know about Getting Over It, but I've never played it myself. But I found, just like your wife, that the game and the movement of the body was very intuitive, but it did take me a second because I kind of thought that I knew better than the game. And I wanted to move and choose each limb that I wanted to move myself instead of the game dictating which limb you're going to be moving next. But then I realized the game knows better than me. So, you know, they're doing the math behind the scenes. They know which 3 points of contact are the most rigid right now than you. And two, I think the best part of Cairn is that they understand that if they make the body of Ava too rigid, the game would be too difficult and not fun to play. Like there's some holds that you make that are obviously impossible to do with a regular human body, where I'm doing like a reverse split with Ava. One leg is going that way, but that's my right leg. And then my left leg is going to the right, and they're literally at a 180 degrees. And then my hands are like this. And kind of getting rid of that rigidness and having that little bit of spaghetti climbing makes it, one, charming, and two, actually works for the gamer. It actually works for you to get over some really difficult passages and routes so that it feels good and it feels like, hey, you're just playing a video game. You're not like playing a super, I don't know, like rigid, climbing, like, oh my god, I'm losing the video game term, but like a climbing experience, I guess, in video game. They just want you to have fun. Yes, the holds are important. Yes, where you put your hands and legs is important, but it's still gonna be fun. It's still gonna be funny. You know, it's not co-op levels of crazy, but you can get into silly positions that I think it makes the game really charming.
Yeah, for sure. Great question from Glass Shark. He actually has a second question, part 2, Glass Shark part 2. The game centers a lot on goal versus interpersonal relationships and how obsessions can be ruinous or lead to personal fulfillment and self-discovery. How do we find that balance as humans? Does the end truly justify the means in Ava's case? And if you could accomplish something that no person ever has, what would you sacrifice, or how much would you sacrifice to get there? A lot of questions within that question, but I will pass that to you.
A lot of questions. Thank you, Glashar, for getting our philosophical side of us to come out. Sure. How do you find balance in those goals that you have in your life? It's so funny because my brother Rogelio and I, we always talk about having balance in life because that's something that our dad always told us. And he hates when people are too obsessed with one thing or another thing. My brother does, and he always wants you to be in balance. I generally feel that like you need to have balance in your life, but it has to come from you. But I don't think it is a bad thing to be obsessed with something if it doesn't hurt the people around you. And that's a really difficult way to start this conversation because then we have to talk about Ava's case and how she is hurting the people that are around her, her friends, her partner, and everyone because of her obsession. Listen, humans are creatures that cannot be solitary, in my opinion, and we crave being in relationships. We crave that society like that we have. We crave being in communities because it's normal. It makes sense. It's in our DNA to be with others. When you are stranded on an island and you find another human, you probably will be happy. You're not going to be like, fuck, you know, you're going to be like, hell yeah. And that's just normal. That's just human life. And the difficult part of this balance that Glass Shark is bringing up is that if you are this obsessed, then how can you kind of deal with those interpersonal connections that you have? And honestly, Glass Shark and Benny, I have never been so obsessed with something in my life that I have kind of like derailed my interpersonal relationships for that obsession. Now, I can talk about instances in my life where things are stressful and I need to put some priorities ahead of others, like when we were in college or like in work right now, because it's important for my work to be good. And so if I need to put extra effort on my work and I need to cancel a couple of things in my relationships or something with my friends or with my wife, then I will do so because it's important to me in that moment. But the caveat to that is that you should have a very good baseline relationship and good communication with those people to achieve that goal, if that makes sense. Like I can tell my wife, hey, I'm really busy with this thing and I need to do this. And it's not going to like sever our relationship, you know, it's just, you know, obviously you can do that. But it's because I've never been obsessed like Ava is. Is there something that I would accomplish that no one else has ever accomplished and I would sacrifice my relationships to get there? No, that's my answer. I wouldn't do it. And I feel like a lot of people might say yes, but I genuinely think that most people would say no. Most people would say no. I think it's a lot to sacrifice your relationships, your family, your friends, and your loved ones, your partner, your cats, your pets, everything, to accomplish something that no one has ever done before. And I think it's a very small percentage of people that would say yes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's like yeah, he gets at, do the ends justify the means? And I think that's what it's about, right? Is what is the end goal? If you sit someone down, or if you pick a random person and you sit them down and you tell them, hey, you can solve world hunger, but it's going to take, like, I'm telling you right now, deterministically, I'm telling you, you can solve world hunger. If you put 100% of your effort, you sacrifice everything, you dedicate every part of your being to doing this, but that's what it takes. I don't know, some
Oh,
significant
shit.
portion of the people you take are going to say yes, right? So
Yeah.
some significant portion of the population. But if the goal is something that's so arbitrary and not, I don't want to say pointless, but something so arbitrary as being the first person to climb a mountain, yeah, I think you're going to find a lot less people that are willing to do that, right? To sacrifice everything just to have your name on a plaque somewhere, right? So it's like, it is about what the ends justify the means. And unfortunately, fortunately, it comes down to you as a person and what you value in life. I, would be very in line with what JP said. Certain things that I consider worth it, I will absolutely dedicate that extra time towards. But yeah, I'm not gonna sacrifice myself for some arbitrary goal or an arbitrary deadline or something like that. Like, that's just, it's not the way I'm wired. But again, we are not like Ava. We are not obsessed. We don't have the history that Ava has, that, put her in this position to be this crazy person with this single-minded goal. So yeah, we're not built like Ava. We can't put ourselves in those shoes.
Yeah, you
Following,
uh-huh.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
I
no,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say you do bring such a good point about, like, accomplishing something that no one has ever done before doesn't necessarily mean just like, yeah, climbing the highest mountain or going to the deepest part of the ocean or whatever. It could mean something as, yeah, like you said, uh saving, oh my god, curing world hunger. Oh my, what did you
Yeah,
say?
something like that. Yeah,
Something like that. I think I guess I never thought about it in that way, like, or like curing cancer or something like that. I think that that's such a more difficult question. Would I
absolutely.
sacrifice my whole life to do that? I don't know. I feel like if I said
Yeah.
no, it would be a bad thing to say, but it is so difficult to say yes when I know what Ava had to do and I know all the sacrifices that she had to make. But I think humanitarianly, you should say yes, but I don't know. That's tough. And
Yeah, but
if I
again,
do say yes,
it's
then why am I not doing it, right? Why am I not
mhm,
doing it right now?
mhm.
I could do it, but I'm not. So maybe I
Yeah,
suck. I don't know.
yeah, maybe you suck.
All right, let's move on. That one was tough. Thank you, Glass Shark, for your question. The next question comes from Dilly Pig, and it's, a really good continuation from the last question. Is Ava a good person?
I would say that Ava is not a good person or a bad person. Ava is just a person, right? Like, she is flawed. All of us are flawed in different ways. There's, some subtext within the game that tells you that Ava comes from, a lineage of climbers, basically. Her dad was this insanely celebrated climber, kind of the same way that she is. And he pushed her when she was young to essentially be the same. Um, and I think that's like a very popular, type of story, kind of the young prodigy pushed by somebody. This is a story we see over and over again. But all of that resulted, and Ava's, her natural ability obviously resulted in her being obsessed. And she, the way she was raised, the way what she was told was important in her life is climbing. And that's all she knows, right? Is climbing. So yeah, is she a good person? Is she a bad person? I don't know. I don't think so to either question. Um, this is just her lot in life, and it's, you can talk about that being a tragedy in and of itself, that she didn't have the opportunity to kind of explore for herself, and she was kind of labeled this prodigy from an early age and kind of forced down this path almost. to where she had this deep, deep obsession that led her to where she is now. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's her story. She is who she is, and she is on Mount Kami climbing her way up.
She is who she is. I said the same thing. Literally, I feel like you usually when Ben and I write these notes and we prepare for these questions, and most of the questions are off the cuff, but when we prepare for these games, we have little tabs in our Google document. And I always write my tab as JP super secret tab, do not read. And literally the first sentence for the answer to this question is, I don't think Ava, oh God, is a good person or a bad person. I think she's a flawed person, which is hilarious because that's literally what you just said. And
I did not read it. I did not read your answer. I want that known right now.
Brother read my answer. She has a clear obsession, like you're saying. And honestly, she has trouble navigating that obsession. Exactly what I said earlier. Human beings need connection and they crave connection. And Ava is not a bad person for wanting to have relationships in her regular life, quote unquote. But also, she's not a bad person for having an obsession. I think, as Glass Shark is saying, navigating the goal that she has from her obsession and her interpersonal relationships is something that she did not do well. I think she was flawed in how she navigated those relationships, but I don't think that makes you a bad person. There's a lot of good people out there, a lot of good friends, a lot of good family members, a lot of good husbands and wives that probably aren't the best at interpersonal relationships, but that doesn't mean that they're bad. It means that they're flawed. And Ava is just like that. Now, could she have done a much better job at navigating this obsession and going through Mount Kami? Of course, we could all do a better job at everything that we tackle in our lives, and we could all be better partners and friends and brothers and sisters and everything. But unfortunately and fortunately for our experience in this game, Ava's obsession was Mount Kami, and we conquered it, and it cost literally everything. And I don't think that makes her a bad person at all.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder, and again, going back to Free Solo and kind of the relationship that it explores between Alex and his girlfriend in that documentary. It's like, you know what you're signing up for. If you are entering into a relationship with a person like this, like an Alex Honnold or like an Ava, you know what you're signing up for. You're probably, more likely than not, you are probably signing up for a tragic death of your partner. And you know that. You have to know that. You have to.
I don't know. We know, Benny, because, Alex Honnold and Ava, Ava, I don't know, you root for Ava so much, and she has this, confidence. She's not going to fail. And that is enticing too, as a partner. If someone is that confident that they're not going to fail, you start believing that too. And on a surface level, Ava did not think she was going to die. I genuinely don't think that Ava thought that her life was over. Alex Honnold doesn't think that his life is over when he free solos at Capitan or the building that he just
of course
did or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you drink that in, and you kind of grab onto that hope, because that's the relationship that they created. And you cannot blame the other person either, but the problem is those are the exceptions. That's the exception, not the rule, right? The rule is, this is a profession that doesn't have a very long lifespan, right? Yeah, especially, if you're just a climber, right? That's one thing. If you're into crazy mountaineering, obviously that's another. But like Alex Honnold, for example, who does so much free soloing and increasingly dangerous stuff, it's at some point, if we're looking at probability, the odds aren't great, They're not great. But yeah, I think, it's a totally valid point. And, navigating those relationships is obviously difficult and what makes us human. So 100%.
Moving on from this very deep philosophical conversation we're having, I'll move on to Dilly Pig's second question, which is, what would you name the robot? If you had to give Climbot a name, what would you name it?
So I gave him a name on stream, and I gave him the name of Papacito. So I was calling him Papacito around.
That's a cop-out. Everything is Papacito to you.
I was genuinely calling him Papacito That was my name for the robot. I don't have a name prepared for him today. That's the name that I'm going with.
No, you know what? It's not okay. I'm putting you on the spot. I need a name.
What? Okay, a name for the. If we're going, the problem that I have right now.
Yeah.
Is that I am almost done reading Project Hail Mary, a movie that you just watched, a book that I've been meaning to read for a while, and now because the movie's out, I'm reading it before I watch it. And the kind of like other protagonist of the book is a dude called Rocky. And so anytime I think about Climbot, I think about Rocky, especially because I was reading the book and playing the game at the same time. So it's a second cop-out answer, but I would probably call him something like, Sergeant Rocky or like Lieutenant Rocky.
Love that.
Of
Love
something.
that.
Yeah, I don't know.
What about you? I need my Climbot to be like rugged. Like I need him to have like an Icelandic name. Like I need him to be like a Bjorn or something like that. Somebody who was born and raised in the mountains and the snow and is like the mountain from Game of Thrones, basically. I need him to have that type of name. So I'm gonna name him Bjorn.
That's a good name. I like your name more than mine. I'm sorry, Dilly Pig, for a second question. I wasn't up to the task. I wasn't. I should be obsessed. I should be obsessed about what to name my robot. I should cut all ties, all relationships. Benny, I won't talk to you anymore until I find the perfect name. It will cost me my life, but I will answer this question on the next episode of Video Game Book Club. And then it will be over for me. Okay. J2Ts brings up another question, and he asks, which ending do you think is canon? So just to remind everyone, the two endings that you can have are the one where you leave with Marco and you don't get to the summit of Mount Kami and you don't die, or the one where you do that. So Benny, which one's canon?
So I actually feel very strongly that the summit ending is the canon ending. Yeah. Like I feel that pretty strongly. I think if you think that Ava as a character, I'm not saying you as the player, what decision you would prefer. I'm saying if you think that Ava as the character would reach that close to the summit with the lifelong borderline psychotic obsession she has with climbing that is like well evidenced throughout the game in so many different scenarios where she makes it crystal clear that all she cares about is climbing and that the only thing that gives her some semblance of joy in the game is climbing. If you think that that character would get that close to the summit and not proceed, I don't believe you. I think that the summit ending is 100% the canonical ending. I think there's absolutely no world in which a character like Ava would go down the mountain with Marco and be happy-go-lucky, friends with Marco, grow old together. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Ava was always going to push to the summit. If you as the character want to choose the other ending, more power to you. That's your decision. But I think canonically, yeah, I think Ava's pushing.
I think most sane people that were attempting this, we would all be like Marco. We would go home and say, hey, I almost did it. That was awesome. Pat yourself in the back. That was still like an insane climb. We're done. Let's not die. Let's go back to our loved ones. Everything is dandy. I do have to say, there's a moment in the game where Ava realizes that Damas has a radio, and she attempts to contact Naomi through this radio, and she can't get through. And maybe Naomi can listen to her, but maybe, Ava cannot receive what Naomi's saying. So she gets frustrated, and through her frustration, because obviously she's feeling a lot of emotions, she's so close to the summit, and she's talking to Naomi right now, she basically destroys the radio from her obsession. And I think in that moment, maybe you can see a little bit of the humanity, I guess, that Ava has, that like Naomi does matter a lot to her. And maybe it does matter more than Mount Kami, but it doesn't. It doesn't. If you know Ava like we do, it doesn't. Naomi, I'm sorry, Naomi, but you don't matter more than Mount Kami to Ava. So no, I agree with you. The canon ending is the one where you reach the summit, where Ava dies up there with Climbot, and she ascends to, the greater beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will ask you the next question. This one comes from Lurk de Nurk. Lurk asks us, very simple question, would you attempt what Ava did?
Hell no, dude. Hell no. What the hell? I'm not attempting that thing at all. I'm sorry, Ava. It's cool, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah, no. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. Dude, after playing this game, I think climbers are psychos. Like, I think climbers are absolutely
climbing is cool.
Climbing is
cool. I had a little climbing phase. For like maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And it's really fun, man. It's really fun. Yeah. But I was always, safety first for sure, for me.
Yes. Recreational climbing not included. That is fine. If you're in the climbing gym, if you're clipped in, that's all great. Like, there's only so much that can go wrong. But if you're like free soloing, if you're an Alex Honnold, if you're doing your free solos on these insane walls, there is something broken in your brain. Like, I believe that your fear response is not working correctly as a human, and you are not like the rest of us. You are wired different if you're like that. So no, I would not attempt what Ava did.
Benny is freaking firing shots here. All right, I have the next question, which is a difficult question, so it's funny that it's going to you first. And it comes from Inferno Disco, and she asks, what is your summit?
I don't know. It's like, it's a tough question because it's like, you and I, we talked about it. We don't have a summit. The summit for Ava is this obsession of hers. It's this like 100% motivating force that she would sacrifice everything for. And I don't think we don't have something that's equivalent to that, but I feel like for me, the quote unquote summit that I'm chasing in my life is like just that overall search for meaning. Cause I think like you grow up, there's everything is very goal oriented. You go to school, you get your grades, you want to get into your career, you try to get a good job, whatever a good job is to you, you want to have a family. Maybe you don't. But it's like, what's the overall goal? What's the meaning of life? Right. And I feel like that was kind of, something I thought about a lot in my like formative years. Like, what is my overall goal here? But reaching the summit for me was essentially just the acceptance of the fact that like there doesn't need to be a big goal. I don't need to have a summit. That was my summit, is realizing that I don't need a summit, right? I'm happy in my relationships. I'm happy with my family. I'm happy contributing to something in work. I'm happy playing my video games. I'm happy, playing tennis, running, all this stuff, cooking, my hobbies, right? That's where the meaning of life is in the small things, is in the relationships you have with people and the things you're able to accomplish in that way. So funnily enough, in searching for the meaning, in giving up kind of the big overall search for the meaning of life, I found it, right? Is in the small things. So yeah, kind of roundabout answer, but that was my summit, I guess you could say.
It's so good because it's so real, I mean, this question is the most difficult question to ever ask anyone. It's the question that we all have trouble answering. It is not what is the meaning of life, but what is the meaning of your life,
Yes.
And it's so difficult. I mean, no one knows, and that answer can change from day to day, but you summed it up perfectly for everyone. To me, that is the meaning of life, to enjoy those small moments, to enjoy the relationships that you have, to take care of the people that you love, to do everything for them, to take care of your family, of your friends, of your partner, of your pets. Like, those things matter, but also you need to take care of yourself a little bit. Enjoying these hobbies, enjoying small, tangible goals that you can achieve can be summits as well. They don't have to be the summit, but they can be small little summits that you will have. And for me, the way I would answer that question, if you had asked it to me first, it was kind of the same. My number one summit is, my spouse, my Katie, and navigating life with her and enjoying it as much as we can and being good people is 100% like my summit. But if we want to call an actual tangible tactile thing, I was going to say my new summit, because I always have like little goals that I want to put on myself, little things that I want to do, is running a full marathon. That's a summit that I have right now.
There you go.
Am I going to kill myself to do that? No, I hope I don't, because running a marathon is not more important than my family. But that is a personal goal that I have right now. And that's something that I really want to do. So for now, for me, that's my summit. And I hope that Climbot doesn't kind of kaput at the end of my run and that he runs with me and that we're all good at the end.
Yeah, what's the Climbot equivalent? Would that just be like your Garmin watch, I guess? Your
Boudreaux's butt paste, bro. Boudreaux's butt paste.
Your watch dies at the very end of your run and you can't record it to Strava. What are you going to do?
Bro, my Strava friends are going to be pissed. If my watch dies, I would actually be pretty annoyed, but yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I love that. Great answer. I will move on from that to I'm going to hit you with a Joe 2-piece special here. Okay.
Okay.
Joe's got two questions for us. Number 1, do you think God will show mercy to those who chose to cut Climbot loose? And number 2, what is the weirdest recipe from the game that you would like to try in real life?
Okay. We both said this. Hell no. We're no mercy to the Climbot losers. Losers. If you've read Dante's Inferno or something, send them to the first ring or something, first hell or whatever. Send them there. The Climbot deniers. I hate that. Hell no. Mm-hmm. For the second question, okay, there's a few things that I would like to try. One, there's a recurring little berry goat milk that you find. It's like a little carton of milk, but it's a berry milk. I just want to try that. I just want to drink that, to be honest. I know that there's berry milk in general in life, but I want that one specifically. 2, you can make different honeys in this game. And there's one particular one where you can make a gentian honey little jar thing. And it gives a lot of benefits. I want to try that. I've had trout, I've had veggie stews. I've had, maybe very strong and smelly teas. I've had it. But a little gentian honey, fuck, that sounds good. Put it on a little peanut butter banana toast. We can
make this happen for you,
That sounds amazing. What's gentian? I don't even know what that is.
I think there's gentian tea. I know that. We need to get you some gentian tea.
It's fun to say.
And we'll get you some infused honey and we'll see it lives up to the hype. I absolutely not. The Lord will not show mercy to those who chose to cut Climbot in no way. And if you did choose to cut Climbot, I hope you went and saw what happened afterwards and you saw how easy it is to get Climbot to the top. And I hope you felt bad about it. And number 2, I don't know about the weirdest recipe, probably the fish simmered in an energy drink. It would be insane.
Yeah.
But the recipe I want to try the most, something about the way the caramel fudge was presented in the game, the fudge that you make from maple syrup and sugar water basically looked so good. And it made me want some fudge so bad. So I'm going to have to track down some fudge here in the near future for sure.
Dude, you just gave me a craving for fudge so bad. I haven't had fudge in so long. I actually am coming back from a little stomach sickness that I just had. So I actually haven't had any food in 48 hours. But fudge sounds amazing right now. There was another little recipe. I made some coffee dipped sugar cubes. I mean, that would give me the highest high for 30 minutes and then I would crash back down for 2 hours after that. But I would definitely want to try those. I have the last question. It's a series of questions from Novaroni that I'm going to ask you. Thank you, Novaroni, for the question. And it goes, a lot of games are being made into movies right now. But with Cairn, it feels like there's a big difference in the viewer experience. basically it's like, what is she doing this for versus the player experience of, I have to do this because it's worth it for me. What do you think it is about video games versus movies and books that makes them uniquely suited to tell certain kinds of stories?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. Thank you, Novaroni. Um, it's interesting because I feel like this is the type of story that you do see a lot in the media. It's person undertaking big task. It's man versus himself. It's man versus nature. It's these frequent themes that come up in everything. Like if you told me the plot to this, if I didn't know Cairn the game existed and I saw like a movie trailer for Cairn the game where it's Ava climbing the mountain, meeting all these people on the way, making all these decisions, I'd believe it. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds like a movie. Sounds like the type of story I'm used to hearing. But I think what makes it really, really successful as a video game is the agency and like the ability to experience it yourself. Because watching the movie, you're just, you're watching her go through it. You're watching her make these decisions. Like Novaroni said, there's that component of like, why is she doing this? What's she doing it for? But as the player, you're kind of walking that path with her. You are climbing the mountain with her. You're having your own setbacks. You're having your own, hardships as you climb that all contribute to the story as you go. And you have the agency to make these decisions. Are you going to share your food with Marco? Are you going to descend the mountain or are you going to go to the summit? Like I said, in my opinion, the canonical ending is that Ava is going to go to the summit because that's who she is. But as the player, you have agency. If it's your story, you can go back down. You go back down to the parking lot, bro. You can do that. So I think that's the big difference is the experience as the player to go through that journey with her, to experience all the hardships and all the satisfaction that comes from overcoming these challenges and getting to the top of the mountain. I think that's what makes it really successful as a game.
This is such a good question from Novaroni, and something that we have touched on, maybe not as like directly as we're going to do now and as you just did, but it's something that we talk about a lot in Video Game Book Club. We analyze, Ben and I, the stories of all these games, and we decide between us and between the Video Game Book Club members, what this experience feels like, what is good, what is bad, what does this make us feel, was it successful in telling its story, was it not successful in telling its story. And the difference between video games and movies and books is that the rhythm of how a video game tells its story matters to the experience of the player if they want to make a game that is fun. And unfortunately, games that are not fun do not sell. But movies and books, they don't need to do that. You can watch a depressing, poignant, strong movie for 90 minutes and you don't feel like you wasted your time because you're gathering and you're getting all of that story into you. It can be about obsession. It can be about overcoming something at a cost of death, and you'll come out of the theater crying. You can do the same with a book. Now, a book is a little more difficult because, again, you put that commitment. You read for maybe 10 hours plus to kind of get that cathartic moment. But in video games, I'm so happy that they're making games like Cairn now. I'm so happy that they're bringing these really interesting and obsessive stories into video games in a way that, you don't have to spend 30 hours to play this game. You can play it in 10. Joe from Video Game Book Club Discord, he played it in 7 hours. He beamed through the game, but he got the right amount of story. He got all the story beats that he needed to get, and he understands the story, and it made him feel something. And I think that what the game bakers did in this game, it is beautiful because it is teaching us this huge experience in a really good, fun package. And unfortunately, writers in video games won't be able to tell those stories if their counterparts in the game development don't make a game that is engaging and is fun for the player. So that balance needs to happen. in video games a little bit more, in my opinion, than movies and books. Obviously, you want the movie to cinematography be, really good and everything to keep the person engaged and everything. But all in all, you're like asking someone to spend so much time doing something via this video game that it is difficult to kind of marinate those two things together. And Cairn does a good job at it. And I 100% can see it be a movie. But like you said, Ben, it's been a movie before, and it will be a movie later as well. It's a story that we see over and over again.
100%. Well, JP, I think after answering all those questions, I think only one question remains. And that is, how are we going to grade this game? How are we going to sum up this experience and grade our time with Cairn? Give me your book report.
Benny, Cairn is a absolutely lovely game that we have played in 2026, and it's probably one of the only games, full releases, that I've played in 2026, and it's 100% at the top of my chart right now of new releases and games from this year. Cairn, as we just talked with Novaroni's question, is a really, really deep story that makes you think a lot, that creates this relationship with the protagonist that is so strong, but also that almost puts you at odds with her. Like, you don't understand why she's so obsessed, but you are enabling her obsession by climbing this mountain with her. And you want to do it. Like, the player wants to get to the top so bad with her. And that relationship that the game makers created and gave us, this experience, was so good and so strong. The moment to moment deep experiences that you have with the climb bots, with the corpses that you find, with the books that you read, the notes, gave me really special and sentimental moments that I didn't think that this game was going to give me. And I really hold them very true to my heart. I like them. The gameplay was super fun too. I mean, I really enjoyed the meticulous nature of climbing in Cairn. I understand that it had a lot of stressful portions in the game, but I genuinely felt that choosing my next hold and my next hold and my next hold was a repetitive algorithmic task that I didn't want to stop doing, to be honest. Like, I could have played this game for 2 hours and I wouldn't have noticed. And I did. I played this game in like 7 sittings and I played for like 17 hours. So you do the math, it was an average of like 2.5 hours per sitting that I played, because I couldn't put it down. It was that hard for me to put it down. I think the art is great. I think the scenery that they paint is beautiful. There's these little rest stops that you can kind of sit at and like look at the beautiful scenery that they painted for you, and it's gorgeous. I think the relationships that Ava has are really interesting and really fun to experience as well. So to be honest, for me, Ben, Cairn is an A.
Dang. I like it. You make a strong argument, for sure. You make a strong argument. Honestly, my opinion of the game has changed as I've sat with it more, I think. Like, I think while I was playing, I kind of felt like the story wasn't really landing with me. And I was like, I don't feel super connected to these characters. I don't feel super connected to, the stuff they're trying to make me feel. They're trying to make me feel bad about, and, all this stuff. But looking back, it's like, you're not supposed to. The game is putting you in the shoes of Ava, who is a crazy person. And like, yeah, you don't feel connected to Naomi because you're kind of not, right? You're kind of not. You don't feel connected to any of these people because you're kind of not. And so, like, looking back at it, and like, now that I've finished it, looking back on it, I think it makes a lot more sense to me. I 100% enjoyed the game, 100% loved playing it. It was really, really fun to play. I don't think I've ever played a game like it. It has some loose comparisons to stuff like a Getting Over It or QWOP or things like that. But I think they took that idea and they really, really nailed it in the climbing mechanic. There's some things that can be said about bugginess and polish and overall, some janky moments, I would say. I think the art style to me like was nice for the scenery, but when it came to the characters, I thought it looked a little bit goofy. But yeah, I mean, I have a really strong opinion of this game, a really positive opinion of this game. For me, it's probably more like a B plus. But yeah, I mean, when I look back at my time playing this game, I'm not going to remember any of those things. I'm going to remember the epic climbs. I'm going to remember summiting the mountain. I'm going to remember all of that. So yeah, great game. Really enjoyed playing it.
2 positive reviews from your host of Video Game Book Club. We love it. We're going to stamp up the A and the B plus for our book reports for Cairn. And we are done with March. But oh my God, what is that? April is approaching, Benny. And you know what happens in April every single year. Basically, this is the second time it's happened, actually. It's that the community votes for the April game of the month. We put a poll out. We asked everyone to send us their video game recommendations. We had more than 77 votes to spread across like 10 different games. And the game that won the April Video Game Book Club Game of the Month is Control. Control is a third-person shooter RPG from Remedy that came out like in 2018? Let me see. Control release date 2019. God, you should put that on a pod game quiz. And it is one of our most fanatic Video Game Book Club friends, Dilly Pig's favorite game of all time. So I'm really excited that we're playing this game for the Video Game Book Club community, for us too, but also gotta give a shout out to Dilly Pig for choosing that game and it winning the poll. Benny, what do you know about Control?
I know very little. All I knew of Control was basically some gameplay clips. Like I know it does a lot of interesting things with kind of gravity and time and things like that. And that's really the only exposure I had to the game. Like I think I didn't know much about it. People in the Discord, we have some very, very big Control fans in the Discord that have been so excited that we're playing it in April. And they've been talking about, the Control universe and, the tie-ins with Alan Wake and all these different games. And I'm like, bro, I'm learning for the first time that these games are in the same universe. I know nothing about these games. So I am going in totally blind, but with great expectations. Everyone has made it seem like this game is going to be really, really great. And I am super excited to start playing.
I'm excited. That's the only thing I knew too. Like there's this like rumor, in the video game world that it has like, this physical aspect to the game that is like kind of trippy, kind of weird, but it makes it very charming in its own way, I guess. And all of these other like cult classics like Alan Wake are in the same universe, which is really interesting. Something that Ben and I have not played either, I don't think. So I don't know. We're going to figure it out. I hope we get as obsessed as the others get as well, but I'm super pumped to play the community game of the month, Control, for April. Remember that every half month, so every 15th of the month, we also have our checkpoint episode, which is where Ben and I check in on our video game progress, and we also talk about the mini video game book club game of the month. And for April, we are playing There Is No Game, Wrong Dimension. So I haven't started that one. It's about 4 to 5 hours long, but I will be playing for the next couple of weeks to be ready for the checkpoint. Benny, I'm asking you to commit right now. Are you going to play that game?
There's no chance. We have family visiting this week, and between that and trying to start Control, there is realistically just no way. I'm so sorry.
Benny is not playing that game, but no worry. I will be here with Benny in the checkpoint to talk about There Is No Game, Wrong Dimension, so that we can, hash it out and figure out.
I'm excited to hear about it. I'm excited to hear about it.
I'm glad. Well, that will do it for us today. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Video Game Book Club. Thank you so much for being here with us. We love talking about video games together. We love talking about what makes video games great and why stories are so interesting. Benny and I Love that you send us questions. If you want to be part of the Video Game Book Club Discord and you want to play the game of the month alongside us, then please join the Discord. We have the links everywhere, I'm sure. And if you are listening on Spotify, on iTunes, or on YouTube, make sure that you rate us, that you give us all the stars that you want. Hey, we don't ask how many. We just, all the ones that you want to give us. Don't worry about it. And that you like the video. Subscribe if you haven't. Send us a comment Send us a message in the comments, say that, you like Ben's hair or something. And we will be back in about 2 weeks with the April episode of The Checkpoint. So we will see you there. Thank you so much for being here. Have a good rest of your week. And bye.
#JP was robbed.